I might say, hey, Alan, I need 10 minutes to send this, or I might just do it after. So not only do you have to understand the moment-to-moment, day-to-day priorities, but those are reverse engineered based on the long-term goal.
You need to understand how to prioritize your life to where you're focusing on the things that are important but not urgent, and the things that are important and urgent, and not in the bottom quadrants of things that really, quite frankly, just aren't important.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Happy Saturday. We hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode. It's okay not to be number one. Today, for episode number 845, it's Strategy Saturday. How do you identify your priorities? So Alan and I remember when we were podcasting from the studio, Alan, let me adjust my mic here a little bit. I got to lift this thing up. We were talking about how when you get a message on Instagram or on Facebook or on Snapchat back in the day, and this is a blanket statement, but really sit with this for a second, you can kind of tell how productive the other human being is by how quickly they respond to your message. So there are people that I know I can message right now that would respond to me within 2 or 3 seconds. The second it hits, you see the green light that says they're online, and then they respond. The point of this episode is for you to realize that if that's something you're doing, and if you're constantly reacting to things, then your priorities aren't in order, and you're being way less productive, way less focused, way less intentional than you could be, and you're definitely not getting the results that you could be if you were just focused on one priority at a time.
Remember, there are creators and there are consumers, and we are all both, but what's your percentage? Some people are 20% consumers, 80% creators. And those people are most likely going to have far more financial wealth, because the more you create and the more other people can consume, the better you're going to do. Some people are 80% consumers, only 20% creators. And so if you're consuming more social media than you are creating social media, it's supposed to be a yin and a yang. It's supposed to be a harmony. But if you're spending most of your life consuming other people's content rather than creating your own, consuming other people's value rather than creating your own, you're going to be in trouble. So this is a Strategy Saturday, and I wanted to explain this concept. So picture 2 axes. You have a y-axis and an x-axis, and there's 4 quadrants. Okay, the upper right quadrant represents, so the y-axis is important, the x-axis is urgent. So the upper right quadrant are things that are important and urgent, okay? The upper left quadrant are things that are important but not urgent. The bottom left quadrant are things that are not urgent and not important. The bottom right quadrant are things that are urgent but not important. The most productive people in the world spend most of their life in the upper 2 quadrants. In other words, things that are important and urgent. This podcast episode is very important for our business, for our mission, but it's also urgent because it's dropping on Saturday and it's Friday today. Mm-hmm. So it's urgent and important because we never miss. The upper left quadrant are things that are important that are not urgent. I'll give you an example. So the book Optimizing for Fulfillment that I'm writing right now, it's more difficult to get me to do that because it's not as urgent. It's not being released for another year. So it's not as critical that I do it every single day, but it is still super, super important. Then you've got the bottom left quadrant, which are things that are not urgent and not important, which is exactly what Kevin was referring to regarding a DM from someone on Instagram. It's probably not that urgent and it's probably not that important. If it was important or urgent, they'd probably text you, or it would be someone who actually has your number. And then the bottom right quadrant, which are things that are urgent but not important, these are the fires. These are the things that seem so urgent, they seem so critical, but they're really not that important. And so the idea in this episode is that you need to understand how to prioritize your life to where you're focusing on the things that are important but not urgent, and the things that are important and urgent, and not in the bottom quadrants of things that really, quite frankly, just aren't important.
And it's interesting too, we did an episode the other day on How much does today really matter? And your priority, your your hour to hour priorities can shift depending on what you're doing. So for example, the example I always use is if I do a podcast breakthrough call and say right in that moment, that's a 10 out of 10 priority because that's a potential for a new client. Awesome. I might have a list of 15 other things that I'm planning on doing after that call. But if that potential client says, hey, I'm in, send me an invoice, that jumps to the next. That's the immediate important thing that I have to do next over anything else, unless it's us recording a podcast episode where I might say, hey, Alan, I need 10 minutes to send this, or I might just do it after. So not only do you have to understand the moment-to-moment, day-to-day priorities, but those are reverse engineered based on the long-term goal where I know for podcasters, Alan, some of the podcasters I've worked with in the past, their podcast is not the main thing. It's not a huge priority, and that's why they don't grow because they don't take it seriously. So they either miss episodes or they don't do what it takes to grow, where I have a client who I sent her a message yesterday after I checked her stats. She's been podcasting since February of 2021, and she already has 11,000 downloads. That's really good.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's really good for 11 months.
The growth rate on that is 0.35% average or something.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And
which is more than ours.
For sure. And why is she doing that? Because that's a priority. That's a priority. Every time her and I talk, it's about how do I increase my listens? How do I increase my quality? How do I get better guests? How do I get clients? How do I optimize for this? That's the priority. So your results are directly connected to your priority and the clarity and the focus and the commitment to your priority.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. So last year I wanted to quit everything. I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to hang up my microphone. And Kevin said no. Kevin said, keep going, Jen. You've got this. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I did. Coaches need coaches, y'all. And working with Kevin has been one of the best experiences of my life. Oh my God, I'm crying. Kevin, you are the best. I could not do this without you. And thank you. Thank you for being you and the amazing human that you are.
If you're focused 90% of your time on one thing, you're going to get way more results than if you're focused 50% time and then getting lost in the sauce of social media. This is a good strategy too it depends on what you're doing, but every day I track my overall social media stats. So how many people watch my story, how many people am I friends with on Facebook, LinkedIn, Next Level Nation, Hyperconscious podcast page, which we're still trying to get changed to Next Level University Facebook page. And it's way easier for me to track those numbers on my laptop versus my cell phone because I don't have the habit of searching Facebook on my laptop. So I'm not going to get lost in the sauce. Same with Instagram. Honestly, Instagram on the laptop is quite a terrible experience. Mm-hmm. So I'm not likely to get lost in the sauce. So that's another thing too is what systems can you put in place to make sure that you don't get lost and fall off track of the priorities that you're trying to keep?
So the story that I want to give for this, and Kevin and I, this is the saying that I believe Brendan Burchard said it first, but the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So if Kevin's fiance right now needed Kevin and it was urgent and important, he wouldn't even be recording this with me. Same with if something was wrong with Emilia or Tucker. I would immediately leave this and go help her. That's our priority. Our number one priority is our intimate partner. But remember, it's urgency and importance. So you have to know your core values. This is kind of like a core value conversation. If your 10 out of 10 is your intimate relationship, then you will value it at a 10 out of 10. It will get level 10 out of 10 attention, and then it will grow at a level 10. You can't expect something to get something that's not that important to you to grow because it's not going to get the attention that it needs. The example I want to use for this is every single one of my clients and everyone on the NLU team has what's called a KPI, a key performance indicator, which is one thing that they measure every single day that is the most important thing. So for example, Christina on the team is the chief graphic designer. So the number one KPI for her in terms of her contribution to Next Level University is the digital assets. So this background you're seeing, if you're on YouTube right now, that was created by Christina. So she tracks the number of digital assets that she does. Another client of mine, you have to understand what the top priority is, and you have to understand when it shifts. And I'll give you an example. One of my clients wants to be a real estate person down the Cape, and they want to buy and renovate and flip houses. That's what they want their entire career to be based around. Right now, one of my clients is saving. His main KPI is money saved for down payment and repair and maintenance costs. So I think he's at like 20 grand saved right now, but that is the most important priority in his life right now. Obviously, assuming his girlfriend is okay and his immediate family is okay. But his most important KPI for his career goals is saving as much money as he possibly can to get the down payment and the repair/maintenance costs to get that first home bought and flipped. So you have to understand what is the main priority, and when that shifts, what's the next priority? Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 line items on my whiteboard in the corner. Not all of them are 10 out of 10 important. As a matter of fact, none of them are as important as recording this episode right now. Otherwise, I would be doing those things, not this episode. So that's what this is about. How do you identify your priorities? And more importantly, how do you identify your most important priority? Because on the macro, our most important priority is our mission. But on the micro, on the day-to-day, it shifts based on the circumstance. So like I said, if something was wrong with Emilia or Tucker right now, I would immediately go and give my attention to that. But since they're good, aka it's not urgent, now I can focus on this. And so you have to understand this dynamic of urgent versus important and priorities.
Next Level Nation, I have had the opportunity to connect with a bunch of you who have taken the free course that we have on our website as well as the show notes below, and it has been wonderful. It's interesting because as a podcast, you don't always know who's listening, right? Unless somebody shares or unless somebody reaches out or unless somebody buys the course, you don't know who's necessarily listening. So it's been wonderful to connect with you. If you are trying to make 2022 better than 2021, if you want to level up your life, and maybe right now money is tight, the course is totally free. It's an hour and a half. It's Alan and I in the studio talking about things that make the biggest difference they've made the biggest difference for us. They will make a big difference for you as well. And you can take it at your own speed. You don't have to hammer through it. You can go a module at a day. I guarantee you will find value in it. And again, it's totally free. There is no risk. Our goal was just to add value. I wanted to charge for it. Alan said we should give it away for free. So we drove to 5 and we gave it away for free. So hey, I'm not done yet. So if you want to check it out, it's in the show notes below.
Yes, super valuable course. I also want to mention Group 6. So we just filled Group 5 for group coaching. We are only doing group coaching once per quarter. The next group starts in April. If you want to be a part of Group 6, get in as soon as possible. We have a waiting list with 5 people on it already. So DM myself or DM Kevin. You can email us or DM us. All of our information is in the show notes below. If you want to be a part of Group 6, that will fill up, and we are closing it at 10 people. That's the sweet spot. Please reach out if you want to be a part of that.
Tomorrow, for episode number 846, we are having our buddy Eddie Pinero on. Eddie Pinero is the founder of Your World Within. He is an incredible speaker, has a very successful YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about the importance and the power of your story and storytelling. I realize that a lot of you out there listening right now are probably afraid to speak in front of groups, or you might be afraid to lean into your story and tell it. We are going to ask Eddie what he did to become such a wonderful speaker and the importance of storytelling. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow with Eddie P.
Please reach out.